Hey family, welcome to yet another exciting episode of On Guard with me, villainise, where we're gonna have heartful, mindful, and meaningful conversations. If it's your first time here, I just want to welcome you, make yourself at home, and welcome on joining us on a platform where we just talk all things Christianity, lifestyle, growing, maturity, faith, name it. All of it is just in there, and it's all just pointing towards edifying the kingdom of Christ. And if it's your first time, well, you know what it is. Why are you acting brand new? You know I love you. I actually wanted to say what's up, like if it's your first time here, what's up, but I thought that might actually chase you away because you're like, what is going on? So I don't want to chase you away. I don't want to chase you away. So I actually took a minute to record this episode because I was a bit uncertain about what it is that I want to talk about. Because I think with the previous four episodes, I picked up that basically season one is just dedicated to me talking about the things that I struggle with. It's not like just being preachy and everything. Most of the topics that I've mentioned, stuff that I'm going through or went through. And so it was like a bit of a touch and go in terms of, okay, what are we going to talk about next? You know what I mean? But at the same time, I knew what I wanted to talk about today was like something that I need to touch on. I just didn't think it would be too early into, this walk. But I guess it was what it is. It is how it is, what it is, what it was. I just remember like I went to bed this one time because I normally try and record every weekend. Like I just sit in front of my phone, hit the camera, hit record, and then yeah, let's do it. So I think I skipped a weekend before recording this one because I was a bit uncertain about what it is that I want to talk about. And I was just lying in bed. I was in bed this one time, and then I said, oh God, what are we going to talk about? Like, I still want season one to focus on the things that I'm going through. Just so even like my listeners can just get a sense of who I am, what are some of the thorns that I'm dealing with, and I kid you guys not when I say, like the title of this episode just came to my head was like, wow, why don't we observe a moment of singleness? And I was like, thank you. So I was like, okay, we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about it. But at the same time, I knew it was gonna require like a part of me that really needs to be really, really vulnerable because I'm definitely in a season of singleness. No cap, no lies, no games, no gimmicks. What? Where did that come from? I'm in a season of singleness, and I think I can tell you that with walking with Christ, you experience singleness differently from when you are not walking with him, and you get to see why this season is not just a season of waiting, but why it is actually a season of doing the work, whether it's working on your spiritual growth, working on your devotion, working on the woman you want to be, working on a god-given goal. And that's just some of the stuff we're going to talk about, so let's get into it. So I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like, oh yes, during the season of singleness, I'm just like, taking it as it comes. Who saw? I'm going to have coffee dates with my friends. I'm reading books. I'm doing all the things I love. Honey, it gets pretty ugly sometimes. And at the same time, the reason why in this season I'm just like, okay, I can see why I need to be in this season is because my dating record is not cute. Like it's not cute, y'all. I've kissed a couple of frogs, have kissed me. And you look back and you're like, yeah, no, none of my dating record was never informed by the Lord. And now as I'm older and in my single season, I kind of pick up why it is actually important to make sure that you date someone. And I don't want to say date people because baby, I just believe that the next person I'm dating after this, that's my husband, honey, that's my man, that's my Boaz. um it's kind of one of those where you're like, it's actually really important, and that the person you date is someone that God has called for you or has ordained for you. Because when you look at a lot of like the relationship struggles that we're seeing in in the modern day world, you realize that a lot of it is it doesn't have Christ as the foundation, and that's why, you know, people will fight about money, people will fight about people will fight about that, and you're like, I really do not want to be part of that pool. And let me tell you, baby, the pool is just pee and cigarette butts, and like you don't want to be a part of that dating pool if really you do not have Christ at the center of your heart, or Christ just informing and pointing you to the direction of who it is you need to be with, for the rest of your life. And by the way, if you're in a relationship, I feel like you can still listen to this, because baby, you you might be with someone who's I'm kidding. I'm just hating from my side of the clip. I'm just hating from my side of the clip. But I don't want you to skip this episode and you think, okay, I'm in a relationship. I don't think this is for me. I think it is for you. I think it can actually shape your relationship or the way you've been looking at your relationship. So yeah, okay. Back to my point. So I think it was in 2023. 2023 was definitely a time where I feel like God definitely burdened it on my heart to say, you're not finding the one. And like I really kept meeting interesting people, that I would talk to, maybe go on dates on and everything. And then it would just like evaporate into the air. Like I'm talking, no one did anyone dirty, but it would just evaporate into the air. And even then, because I was already born again and I knew my dating, scene had to be different from when I like before I was born again. So I'd go on these dates, meet these amazing people, and then it would just evaporate, and I would ask myself, what is going on? And I felt in my heart like God was just like, I'm burdening you with the season of singleness. I need you to be alone. I need you to deepen your roots in me. And I need you to just focus on what is important. You can't hear my voice when a lot is happening. And I found it to be very true, because y'all, when I date, oh, child, I'm a clown. And that's why, more than anything, when I felt burdened or called to a season of singleness, I was like, oh, okay. I hear you. I will do that. I will do that. But like I said in the beginning, it's not like, even though you're gonna like answer to the call of the season that God has called you in to be single, on some most of the time, even, let me not even lie to you, most of the time you're gonna wake up feeling very empowered, like, I know God is cooking my man. I know. But there are gonna be some random Sundays, because Sundays are for lovers apparently, and maybe Valentine's, on your birthday, or whatever the case is, where you're just gonna feel like, I actually need someone. God, where this man at? So it's not a consistent journey wherein, if you feel like this is your season of singleness and you're like, but I want to heed to the call, but why is it that I sometimes crave, cuddles, or I crave being intimate, spiritually, mentally, with someone, right? So if you're going through that, girl, boy, you are not alone. It's not a lenient journey. Yes, 80% of the time you're just like, yep, I'm doing me, focusing on my life, doing what needs to be done. But there are going to be days that it just comes through, when you get a wedding invite, or, a proposal video on the internet, and you're just like, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, what is going on? And like, also, like, social media doesn't make it easy when you're in your season of singleness, right? Girlies be getting like 200 roses, and you're like, girl, I need me some of that. God, what she said. You know what I mean? So it's not really an easy road. It's not straightforward. It's very bumpy, where you're gonna crave intimacy, and I'm talking spiritually and mentally. And then other times you just there like, actually, I got this. I got this, and I'm enjoying the season, and I am built for it. So one thing that I have learned so far in this season, and as a believer, is that this is not a punishment. Like, the season can easily be seen as a season of punishment, but I just want to assure anyone listening right now that it is not a season of punishment. And I can understand why it can feel like that, especially with the things that I said before. You're just like, whoa, why am I getting the lashing and, the short end of the stick? But it really is not. If anything, Apostle Paul tells us in the book of Corinthians that it is actually a gift. And he calls it a gift in the sense that this is a time where you can actually focus on the things that matter most. And I think, like, for me in this period of time, what is very important for me is definitely my walk with Christ, deepening my faith, having ample devotion time with him, you know what I mean? And I think he also, like, goes on to explain that, like, it's not bad to be in a relationship or to be married, rather. It's just that when you're married, you have to focus on the Lord and then focus on the things of your house, you know what I mean? So it's almost like your, not that your attention is divided, but you just have like a lot on your plate. But when you're single, you have all the time in the world to just focus on God. And I saw that to be very, very real in my life, because, and I remember, um Slee joked with me about it this one time, and I was like, "Yeah, you're single. You see, now you have time for the Lord." And I was like, "I actually do." You know what I mean? Like, if I miss my devotion, before I go to bed, because maybe I was just drowsing off, slumbering, I can wake up at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., and start blasting my music and be like, "Lord, you are holy." You know what I mean? And even like, you're able to just add him into a lot of your routines, like whether it's the morning routine, the evening routine, and sometimes even during the day, you know what I mean? So I felt like I kind of really understand when Paul says it is actually a gift, because now you have time to focus on God, the things of God, the things that God has placed in your heart, and even more than anything, you're able to hear him more clearly. Baby, like I said, I am Boo Boo the fool when I am in love. Now imagine being in love with the wrong man that God didn't send to you. And as Boo Boo the fool, I don't even think I'll be able to just, hear the convictions that I hear from, the Holy Spirit, throughout my day. Because I'd be hearing a lot from him. And I think I've highlighted this in previous episodes. I hear from him. Like, I get convicted even in the smallest of things. And I don't think when I'm dating, I could really do that. Like, I don't know. And especially if I'm dating the wrong person, I don't even think I can do that. So during this gift, it's like I'm just able to pour into my walk with him. And I feel like in return, he's just also able to pour back into me as well. And I know, like, you know how, and I don't know if they use that like to condemn people or what, but it's almost like from back when I used to date and I would visit Christ, it's like I'd only make time for him like on Sundays when I go to church. And it's like, that's it. Out of an entire week of so many hours, I'm giving you 2 hours where I'm going to sing, praise, listen to the word, and I've probably forgotten that word by the time I leave the church house. But now it's like every day I have time for him. I read things, I watch sermons, like, you know what I mean? I can pause a sermon in between and then Google something. And it's just like, oh my goodness, I have all this time that I am sharing with the Lord. And I'm just so happy to be sharing it with him. And I think that's one of the biggest mind shifts that I've had, since being a believer that is now single, and just observing a moment of singleness, is that I have time, and I'm going to use this time to grow and deepen my roots. And it's also like figuring out what kind of woman I am, because what I'm going to tell you for free is that when you find your identity in Christ, it is easy for you to navigate and see all the things you like in your newfound identity. And I think I've joked about this in previous episodes where I was like, bro, he transforms your mind so much that even the things you used to think you like, you just don't like no more. And I see it so much even with my dating scene, or lack of. I see it now, because the guys that used to like really tickle my fancy, boys that I used to look at and be like, okay, how you do? It's now just like, oh, but do you pray though? Do you believe in God though? You know what I mean? So it's not enough for someone to be tall, dark, and handsome. It's just like, child, if you do not have the king of the world, how you gonna be the king of my heart? So it's one of those things, because I've deepened my roots now, because I'm just so focused on my walk with him. It's like, okay, okay, I see you. The appetite has changed. And not to sound like a salesperson or anything like that, but there's also like an amount of peace that overtakes you, that overcomes you, that just washes over you during the season of singleness. Like, it's like, I'm at peace, man. I'm at peace. I kumandi apa kumandi. It's like it's delicious stuff. I'm happy to be here. You know what I mean? And it's like unshakable. Don't get a text in the morning. I will get my own flowers type of peace. And it's not even from a petty place like, oh yeah, I can't buy myself flowers. No. It's just like I'm at peace. I want flowers, I'm gonna go get them. You know what I mean? And it also like forces you, not even forces you, like you end up making really nice or heavy or hard decisions that you never would have made in your previous walk before you found Christ. Like for example, like for me, the more I got into my singleness was the more I was just like, actually I think I also just want to step into celibacy as well. Like I think I really just want to not only devote the season but devote my body to him. You know what I mean? I know people are, gonna meet someone and they're like, oh, what you mean you're celibate? You have a baby. So that's like living proof that you used to fornicate. Boy, bye. If I have to explain that to you, then you are not the man for me. I'm sorry. Bye. So you have that peace and you have that comfort that I know God is gonna do it for me. But you see, at the same time, the peace that you have that says, I know God is cooking my man, is putting together my Boaz, you know what I mean? It's the same peace that says, but even if he doesn't, how good is this life? How free is this life where I'm just at his feet, singing songs of praise, bringing my concerns to him. When I'm about to run out of money, I'm like, Daddy, Father, I do not have money. And then out of nowhere, someone sends me money. So it's like, okay, with or without it, God still got me. If He wants it for me, great. I'm happy. I'm going to have a life partner. And if He doesn't, also great, because He's my provider, He's my comfort. And spending time with Him is the best thing I do in any time of my day. Like, it's just the best. It's never wasted hours or minutes or seconds. Like, I really, really just enjoy the peace that comes with also just observing a moment of singleness and giving it meaning to say, this is where I'm growing, this is where I'm transforming, and this is where I'm changing. You know what I mean? There's going to be an appetite to change during the season. Another thing with this season is that, girl, this is a season where also you can just dial up on the God given goals. And when I say dial up, I mean dial up. I say that because I've also had time to pray to God about certain big desires that He has placed in my heart concerning my business, concerning this very same podcast, where I'm just like, God, I'm having new desires, I'm having new visions, new ideas for this. Help me. How can I do this? What do I need to do? What do I need to, you know what I mean? So it also feels like a time where you can focus on those goals because the big dreams, the big goals, and the big desires that God places in our hearts, He wants to see them through because the blessing is so big. And I always speak about this, that sometimes if you examine the desires in your heart, like the goals, the God-given dreams that you have, you will realize that when these dreams materialize, the blessing is so big that it is not just for you, but it's for everyone around you. And that's where I am with a lot of like the dreams and goals that I feel like are from God. So this time of singleness also just pulls you to just really focus on those. You hear from Him, you know what I mean? You pray for strategy from heaven, you pray for warnings, you pray for destiny helpers, you know what I mean? Instead of praying, oh God, can He please text me back? Oh God, can He please not meet another girl at the club? It's like, what are we doing? What's going on here? So I think that's another thing that this season has also just like brought forth or has heightened in me, the fact that I have the dreams that I have are actually very, very God-given. You know what I mean? They're very, very kingdom advancement agenda type of vibe. So it's like, use the season to also just posture at His feet, ask for strategy, ask for help, ask for favor. You know what I mean? You end up praying really, really serious prayers when it comes to your God-given desires, where you're like, God, this is bigger than me. This is bigger than anything else that I have ever done. And I'm going to need you to just help me walk in obedience, give me the courage, give me the wisdom, give me the knowledge to apply when I am doing all these things. You know what I mean? So I more than anything have seen that this season has also allowed me to just dial up on focusing on the big goals and the big dreams and the big everythings that I have. And I get to just co-sign it, co-work with heaven on it and say, is this what I should be doing? You know what I mean? And you end up, guys, you end up even having dreams about it, because you're at a point where, because you're always at his feet, you always having conversations that concern kingdom's agenda, and you get to a revelation where you realize the dreams that you have are in line with kingdom's agenda for your life. So then you receive strategy, the downloads from heaven, where you are just working and co-partnering with heaven, with Jesus, to make sure that this thing comes to life. I'm not saying when you're not single, you can't encounter or experience these very same things. I'm just saying, in a season of singleness, instead of just waiting for your Boaz, just also pray to God about what are the God-given dreams, what are the God-given desires, and how can you partner with heaven to make sure that you have so much favor as you're executing this particular call. You know what I mean? And then we can still like align it back to what Paul said. When you're single, you have all the time to focus on your God-given dream. And when you're in a relationship, when you're married, we're not saying don't focus on your God-given dream. We're just saying you have to put in the time, because now you're focusing on God and you're focusing on this dream. So for my singles, I'm saying don't just wait. Pray about the dream, pray about the vision, and see how you can partner with heaven to make sure that this comes to life. The season of singleness is also like just a season of placement. Um, a season of healing and a season of growing. I think this is the one time where, in as much as you're pouring into your relationship with God, in as much as you're pouring into your God-given goals, it's also like a season where you need to pour into yourself. And I know we hear this a lot. Pour into yourself, pour into yourself. But it's like, well, what do you mean? What do I just like drink water? I'm kidding. Oh man, it was such a dad joke. But yes, it's a season where you need to place yourself. You need to find yourself, find your identity, and place yourself in the right posture so you can be able to receive what heaven wants to give to you, right? There's this series by Michael Todd. Um, I know people are a bit touch and go with him. I don't care. I just receive what the man says, and yeah. But Michael Todd has a beautiful series that I think he has a book on it. You can buy it. Relationship goals. In the first three parts of that sermon series, he puts it nicely about, like, he puts it nicely what the season of singleness is, what it does to you. And I think he used Adam. He was unpacking the book of Genesis, just talking about Adam. Like, first of all, Adam was created and then placed in the garden, and then was given tasks to name the animals and the fish and the birds and everything, to give them names and everything. And then it was only after Adam had figured out, was placed, given an identity, given a task, given a role, that Adam was then given Eve. And I think I would really encourage you guys to check out that sermon series. If you want, you can buy the book. But it was really beautiful, the first three parts or episodes, where he's unpacking singleness and what is your role during the season. It's not a season where you wait and fast and pray over a man, because what happens if he doesn't come? What happens if kingdom's agenda for your life is that you do not get a man? You know what I mean? So it's a really beautiful sermon series that I would really encourage you guys to watch. I don't think I finished it, because I think going forward he was talking to people in relationships, but I need to finish it. I have this thing where I don't finish what I start. Okay. But yes, I would encourage you, if you're also lazy to finish it like me, definitely watch the first three episodes. Chef's kiss. And just still on that point of like placement, finding yourself, pouring into yourself, the reason why that becomes really important is because a lot of the times people tend to look for relationships to complete them, when really the opposite should be what you are doing. you should be looking for relationships to complement you. You know what I mean? If you are impatient and you think being in a relationship is going to make you patient, newsflash. If you can't save money, or you are bad with finances and you think being in a relationship is going to change your finances, you are just going in that relationship with your bad finances. So I think it's one of those where you must see the season as fixing the things you find wrong, or you have realized through studying scripture are not what God really requires of you. Like, you know what I mean? I can be a bit impatient. I always want things done a particular way. And when they're not, I tend to be really, really impatient, and I just like bite people's heads off. So it's something that I'm working on. Like, okay, girl, not everything has to go your way. It's okay. Let it be, let it go. You know, it's one of these things that I'm working on. So I think use this season as well to make sure that when you are really fully content with yourself, you are not going into that relationship with the same problems that you are struggling with. And another sobering thought, maybe in case you're like, oh, girl, I've been working on myself for so long. A sobering thought is that your man is working on himself as well. God is transforming him to be the kind of man you deserve. But at the same time, God needs to transform you to be the kind of woman that that man deserves, because we are all children of God and God wants good things for his children. So if there is a good man praying out there, making six figures and everything, and he's praying for a wife, why would God give him me if I'm still struggling with certain things that I'm not putting effort into fixing? So get the working, girl. Get the working. And just speaking on a sermon series, there's one from Dr. Darius Daniels, also one of my favorite pastors. I'm always on YouTube, baby. Sermon after sermon after sermon. I love him. I love him so much. So he also has a beautiful series that he started. It's called Single in the City. He always has episodes up every Wednesday. And he also mentions something similar. Like, this is a time to devote to God. There's a time to devote to your goals, and there's a time to devote to yourself. But he also mentioned something about dismissal, where he's like, it's time now to dismiss and get rid of things that are just not in alignment with where you're going, that are just not in alignment with who you are, and are not in alignment with who you're trying to be. So I think for me, I haven't really been dealing a lot with those things, because I think even before I realized like what it means to be single, or what it is that I need to do as a single woman, I was already getting rid of things where I'm like, as a praying woman, I can't be dealing with this. Like, I can't be doing this. I can't be doing this. So for me, like during that time of my life, I was already I was already cutting off things. I mean, first came the alcohol, then came the smokes, then came the club culture, then came everything else. You know what I mean? I actually never really had to cut off friends. Like, friends just walked away from me, and I was like, "Ooh, thank God," because I was not in the mood for having a meeting. Because I was probably gonna be the type to call them and say, "Guys, so we can't be friends anymore because so for me, it's like the more I deepened my walk and I stopped doing things in terms of activities, like certain people just started going off, and I'm not I'm not mad at them. Like, some of them from time to time I still be like, hey, I hope you're good, how you doing, but others, you can tell is like, chock a block, we done, Vals. Don't you hit this number type of vibe. So that's mainly it. You're also gonna have to be really, really firm and have boundaries during the season, and say, this is not part of what I want for myself on this walk with Christ. So I need to dismiss it. I need to get rid of it. And I pray for you. I'll be praying for you as you try to dismiss those things, because it's not easy. It's not easy. I once got asked a question by a friend, was like, what is the hardest thing about like being born again and being very loud and proud about it? And I said, it's so crazy. Like, I have thorns. I have sins that like I probably still struggle with, and I pray over God, pray, fast, and do all of those things. But the hardest thing is having people speak to you from a point of familiarity. Like, people still speaking to you like you are 2000 22 Wilhelmina, like, and the first time it will be easy to be like, oh yeah, I hear you. Yeah, look, I'm not that person anymore. I don't do those things anymore, right? But it's always hard when you've already given someone that, heads up that we don't do that over here, and they still come back with the same energy, and you're like, "Ah, okay, now let's just go fight because you don't want to hear me, so that is the hardest part, having to dismiss things, having to have uncomfortable conversations with the people you love or the people that are dear to your heart, that listen, I hear you, you are saying this, and I feel like I've told you this before. I'm not about the life. And I actually want to use this time to say shout out to my friends and family that that never questioned anything, like, are you only doing this temporary, are you only, it's just, I bet, let's roll, let's roll, let's do this. So I'm really appreciative of you guys. Shout out, shout out, shout out. If there's one thing that I really want you to remember, as you're like, oh, but where's the love of my life, where he at, you already have the love of your life. If you think about the number of times God has actually pulled up for you, you'd be shocked. You would be shocked that actually he is more of a provider than any man has ever provided for me or will ever provide. And that is why, for me, the more I spend time in devotion, the more I pray, the more I do all these things, is the more I'm like, there is really no way I'm going to end up with a man who is not after God's heart. It's it's not going to happen. Because if he's supposed to love his bride like Christ loved the church, and he's not even in the church. You know what I mean? So it's one of those where you say, you know what? I don't want to be part of the divorce statistic. I don't want to be part of, you know, the hookup culture. I don't want to be a part of that. So I'd rather sit here and wait and take in the world as it is, right? What the season is also going to do for you, or what I would want you to also just, focus your mind on during the season, is gratitude. Be thankful for all the other million things that are going right in your life. You know what I mean? I sometimes sit back. I moved to Joburg like some few donkey years back, and I sometimes sit back when I'm catching up on some of my old favorite sitcoms, Friends, and I'm like, I can't believe growing up, I used to really like fancy this life, like, oh, group of friends having coffee, look at that. And I would have so much gratitude. And I'm like, but this is exactly how I'm living. I've always wanted that for myself. Live in a city, work in advertising, be a writer, go for coffee runs, go for midweek dates, have an amazing, group of friends that are just different in personalities and everything. And I actually have that. So it gives me time to really, really, really be thankful. So use this time as well to be thankful for all the other things that are going right. Because, baby, if you focus on the things that are going wrong, you are not going to have gratitude. You're going to grumble and groan and be on some, oh, why them? You're going to scroll through engagement posts with a bitter heart, and we don't want that for you. Baby, you don't want an ugly heart, okay? Because that will keep your man even further away from you. So use this time to be thankful. I find myself being really thankful for my mom, who is one of the most supportive people in the whole world. My sister passed on, and she just took on the role, took her kids, took my kid, and she's just like raising these amazing human beings. I'm thankful for my son. A bit cheeky, but can work around it. We can work around it. I'm not mad at the boy. I'm not mad at him. Grateful for my son, grateful for my friends, my job, grateful for the spirit of discernment, grateful for being able to hear, the Holy Spirit convict me and things like this. So it's like, don't just sit in the season, do things. And being grateful, having gratitude, is one of the most important things you can also do in the season, because it's like you're moving your focus away from what is wrong, what you don't have, what is lacking, and focusing on what he's already doing right here, right now. Because one of the tricks of the enemy is to make us focus on what's not here, so that we can forget what God is doing right now and not even be able to hear him when he's speaking right now. It's also like, And if you're an introvert, I'm so sorry, but it's also a season of community. You know what I mean? Just handpick amazing group of people or pray to God about just placing you with an amazing group of people that are just going to pour into you. You know what I mean? Iron sharpens another iron. I'm not saying look for only single people. Like, oh yeah, I'm going to hang out with the singles. No, hang out with everyone, married, engaged, divorced, and as long as they're just pouring into your spiritual walk during the season. I think it's very important. I have an amazing group of friends. We are praying over each other because why are we all single? Except Celine. Celine is at this point is just halfway to married. Like so it's like find a group of people, be with them, let them pour into you as you pour into them, be vulnerable with them about how you're feeling, be real with them about what you're feeling, what you're going through, what this season is doing for you, what it's not doing for you, what you wish you could change, what you need to pray more over. And you'd be shocked at how much just having a group of women pray over you, or a group of guys just pray over you and saying, you know what, not only are we praying for this Boaz, but we are praying that during this season you draw closer to God. You know what I mean? You find yourself, you become the best version of yourself, and you are just focused on everything God has placed in your heart until such a time, right? So it's like really, 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 really an amazing time. So yeah, if there's anything I want you to take away, is that this season is not a waiting season, it's not a punishment season. Baby, keep moving, keep moving. There's this song from Maverick City, Elevation Worship, when it's like it's wait on the Lord. And it says, while I'm waiting, I'll be worshiping. While I'm waiting, I'll be praising. It's not about just waiting, it's about what you are doing in the waiting. And I find that to be very beautiful. And you can use it throughout your life, in any aspect of your life, not only because you're waiting to find your Boaz, but use it even like when you're waiting for a big financial miracle or a big health miracle. While you're waiting, just be doing something, anything that is going to bring you closer to God. You know what I mean? So definitely know that the season is for you to just deepen your roots. It's for your devotion time with Him. Is to get to know Him and understand His full character, to understand what He has done and what He said He will do. You know what I mean? It's a season where you can focus on the desires He has placed in your heart, to see them through, to ask for favor, for courage, for discipleship, for, destiny helpers. It's also a season where you can just place yourself, pour into yourself, become the best version of yourself. It is also a season where you get to dismiss all the things that are not in alignment with who God says you are and what God says He wants for your future. It's a beautiful season of just being, of just being. And I absolutely love this. Well, that is all we have time for today. And I hope this episode has blessed you. And if you think it can bless anyone else, do share it with them. I don't know how this season is going to last for you and I. Maybe a few years, maybe it will end sooner. I don't know. But all I know is that God has good plans for us. He said it, and His word never goes back to. But until next time, stay mindful, stay heartful, stay purposeful. Love and light.